Welcome back to Simplifying the State, the podcast where we break down politics. You don't have to try to figure out why sales tax could go up by a hefty amount. As always, I'm Adam Watson.
I'm Nicholas Perrin.
I'm Luciano Perlman.
I'm Garfinkel.
Before we start, please rate us and follow the podcast wherever you are listening, and share it with anyone you think would enjoy it, like your prom date. All right, so today we're going to be discussing the potential increase in sales tax in Missouri. Basically, there's a bill that passed the state Senate to eliminate income tax in Missouri, but to make up the deficit in the budget that would cause, they want to increase sales tax revenue on various things. So it passed the Senate. It's going back to the House for any potential modifications they have, and then it goes to the governor's desk. And then if it passes all that stuff, then there will be a vote in the election in November on whether to adopt this constitutional amendment. So first impressions from you guys, what do you think?
I think this is the consequences of what happens when people in power have unchecked power and they can just do what they want with it. And I think, I feel like a lot of what's happening right now, especially even with the sales tax stuff and the governor's office and the state Senate and the state House, because there's no checked power, because it is Republican majorities, I feel like they're just doing whatever they want and they're getting away with it. This disproportionately is going to affect lower income people rather than people who make a lot more money. And I think that sales tax is going to really affect the cost of living in Missouri. And that's a net negative. And I think everyone is very cognizant of that in Missouri state government, and they don't care because it enriches all of their friends. And I think that's really concerning to me. And I think for one of many things, I think it drives business out of St. Louis. Not just out of St. Louis, but out of a lot of Missouri, because people, especially on the borders, will go to Kansas or Illinois or Iowa or Arkansas because goods will be cheaper and they'll buy stuff there, taking business out of Missouri. And it's just bad. It's a bad idea, and it's deeply worrying. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same as Luciano. It's going to help. It's going to benefit the wealthiest people most, while kind of leaving the lower and even the middle class behind.
Thirds. Super.
I pretty much thought the exact same thing when I first heard about this. I immediately thought, why are we doing this? Because their reasoning was that they wanted to make Missouri a more competitive state to businesses and whatever, and I guess I can see the logic in that, but I think overall that's worse than just keeping sales taxes the same, because to stimulate the economy, you want people to go out and exchange their money for goods, which making the prices of goods higher by increasing sales taxes is going to do the opposite. So I just don't understand the logic in that.
I think it's just it's another scheme, and I think whatever the Missouri government wants to do, I feel like they can do, because again, it's Republican. I don't believe it's super majorities in the state Senate, state House, but it's definitely it's a concerning amount of if the governor and people in power can do whatever they want without any major repercussions because of the very comfortable majorities they have. And I think it's not I think it will drive business out of Missouri and is ultimately a bad thing. And I think the only people benefits is the wealthiest 1% of Missourians, which is moronic. I think it's really dumb. And I think it's not necessarily just a wholly partisan issue. I think because 3 GOP state senators voted against the resolution, which I think is really good. But, and I think it is really just an issue of power. I think it's those who are super rich and want to keep all their rich friends who pay for their political campaigns happy. Then they'll sign on to this tax and they'll sell it to the voters as a tax cut, even though it isn't. Actually increase taxes. And then they'll just make their friends richer, and it'll be worse for everybody, because good governance inherently relies on checks and balances on power, and Missouri doesn't have that right now. And again, deeply, deeply concerning. So yeah, I agree with everything Nicholas said. It's very bad.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they have a super majority in both of that, and I think that grants them the ability to sort of ignore what the other side has to say. And I think I definitely agree with you on that. I think that Missouri is in a situation where there is no political check on the Republicans. And I think that there is no need for them to be competitive, and there is no need for them to really be proactive in terms of making policies that would benefit the majority of people in the state. Because, I mean, the majority of people in the state are going to be not only not benefited from this elimination of income tax, but are going to be harmed by this increase in sales tax. And yeah, I agree. I think this is a blatant example of people in power, and in this case, Republicans, making life better for their rich friends and for possibly themselves, depending upon what their net worth is. And again, making life difficult for working and average Missourians.
Yeah.
So, Adam, you kind of touched on this just now, but how would you say a normal citizen is going to react to these changes? Because we've kind of gone over, yeah, it'll only benefit, the tippity top, the 1%. What do you think the outcry will be from people like us?
Well, I mean, I think if it passed, I think there are going to be two outcries. If it does, like during the campaign phase, I think that depending upon, what kind of information is presented, I think that people are going to be upset by the potential increase in sales tax. If it passes, then income tax will decrease, yes, but sales tax is going to increase. And so what that means is basically everything you buy is going to increase as opposed to it being just like a flat rate. So I feel like there's going to be a little more concern and like tightening of belts because right now, just in Clayton, the sales tax is about 9%, a little over 9%. And that's when you factor the Missourian sales tax, St. Louis County sales tax, Clayton sales tax, all that stuff together. It comes out to about 9%. So this bill could see sales tax rise by the state sales tax rise by about 8%. So it would jump from about 3 or right now to about 11. So that could see us in the teens in terms of what our sales tax is, which I think would definitely, and that's just in Clayton. There are places outside of Clayton with a higher local sales tax compared to the state. So there will just be an overall increase in the cost of goods, which, again, is going to hurt middle class and lower class Missourians significantly more than it's going to hurt the top 1% of the Missourians who are very rich.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also, too, I feel like this might be one of those situations where the Republicans are screwing over their own base. And I think that might have the potential to hurt them in the midterms a lot more. I think, because there are a couple of Missouri Senate seats up for election this year.
I think a good chunk of the House seats, if not all of them, are up for re-election. I have to check that.
Yeah. And then I think because of that, because this is just the optimist in me, but I think hopefully, I think people realize that these people are screwing them over. I mean, again, we have seen this before in especially deep red areas in Missouri. I mean, Festus, I think their entire city council voted, all 5 members of their city council who voted to approve for a data center, they were all voted out. A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw that.
There is massive pushback if you do dumb things like play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If the mast slips and you lose your rural base and you lose them on economic issues, then what does that mean? Does that mean people get primaried by people further to the right from them, more towards the center? Democrats, maybe? I mean, Democrats are running historic 90, we're running people in 96% of races, which is awesome. But I think it has to be backed up by the fact that this has the potential to be a rallying cry for not just moderate fiscal conservatives, but also moderate Republicans, libertarians, not libertarians. They probably love this, but no, they wouldn't. And Democrats and people who have a real opportunity to win this stuff. And you could see them maybe make some gains and chip away. And that's the best case scenario. But I think what's likely to happen is that I think a couple seats will get challenged. And I think the Republicans, people are going to realize that this is, if it passes, that this is really screwing over the economy. And I think a couple seats might get challenged and the resolution will hopefully fail. But I think even if it does pass, I feel like the state government would get a big slap in the face.
Yeah, I agree here. I mean, I am more pessimistic about Democrats' chances in Missouri. I mean, I feel like we've sort of been down this road every single election. We think, oh, the Republicans just did this really bad thing. I feel like we have a good chance of at least making a dent in the Republican presence here in Missouri, and then ultimately it comes up to maybe we win 1 or 2 seats, but usually that's the extent of it. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like Republicans in Missouri are frequently going against what the majority of people want. I mean, close to 50% of people said they oppose this restructuring of the tax system, eliminating the income tax, increasing sales tax. And we also saw it with other things. I mean, we saw it with what they did with Proposition 3 after it passed with the abortion measure. The Republicans just basically said, we're going to ignore that. We're going to override the voters. And now they're doing a bunch of stuff. Overall, I think we see the Republicans in Jeff City frequently ignore what people want and just sort of do what they want or what their richer constituents want. And I mean, we could see some blowback for them politically. I mean, all of the Missouri House seats are up for re-election. 17 of the Senate seats are up for re-election in 2026. And this income tax thing could be a real way to drive anti-Republican turnout in Missouri. Again, I'm more pessimistic about how much we can accomplish. But I mean, like you said, with the just sheer amount of Democratic candidates we've got across Missouri, I think, there's a good chance to at least make some kind of dent in the Republicans' House and Senate presence.
That's the hope. That is the big hope.
Yeah.
It's really a question of how effectively is this issue communicated by Democrats, and how poorly do Republicans handle this? And I think those two questions determine the outcomes of this, and I think the impacts. And I can only hope for the best.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I think speaking about how this can impact high schoolers, I mean, I think sales tax is one of the few, it kind of is the only tax that affects high schoolers. I mean, unless you have a job and stuff like that. But I feel like it's the main tax that affects high schoolers when we go to buy things. And, this could see an increase paying more. I mean, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, how it will affect us.
Yeah. I don't have a job, but so if I go buy something, obviously I'm not going to have an income to get taxed, so that's not going to benefit me. But I do, when I buy something, higher taxes on that will mean I will be feeling it more.
Yeah. I think it might be the one thing where like young people are like, hey, my Twix bar costs like 5% more than it did. I think cost is one of the things that I think a lot of high schoolers are aware about more, especially gas. I mean, I know like the whole hubbubaloo in Iran and everything, I think it's just been making gas go up and up. And I'm terrified to go to the gas station now. But I think it's one of those things that a lot of people are very conscious about. I think especially a raised tax will make a lot of young people who are just about to vote or who can vote really, really pissed. Yeah. And I think that's not a very good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I shed a tear every time I go to the gas station now.
Dude, I'm dreading it so bad right now. It's gonna be. I'm on like probably a quarter of a tank, and it's not looking good at all.
I think someone from the Republican side said that a gas tax would be like the one thing that they would not increase any taxes on. Like that was politically off the table for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I feel like Mike Kehoe is going to do anything.
So I was looking at this one article, and they mentioned a poll about Missourians opposing the switch from income to sales tax, 49% to 37%. But when they heard a whole bunch of arguments about why that would be a bad idea, the article doesn't say if they were presented any good ideas opposing the opposition. Anyway, they shifted to 75% opposition to 18%. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think that's a good note to leave off on.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of Simplifying the State. We'll be back next time with our next episode. Until then, make sure you follow the podcast. Make sure you do all of that awesome stuff. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. That'd be really awesome. And then we'll talk to you guys next time.